Hello. Long time no see. It feels like it's been 500,000 years. But really, it's been what? Because I did one of these just before the 18th. So it's been 3 weeks, or 4 weeks or something, but I don't know. Because I was sick at the time, right? But anyway, it's only very lightly mizzling out here, so before I start telling you what I've been writing today, let me turn the camera around and show you the garden. Because, well, there it is. And there's flowers. And we should not miss the flowers. We have lilies. And, of course, everything is wet. So it's beautiful. And I just love things that are wet. Nature that is wet. The colours are always so bright. They're called saturated colours for a reason. They're saturated. And they're just beautiful. And so those are the lilies, and look, we have feverfew. This is golden feverfew, and it's doing its thing, and it's lovely. And you know, a lot of this needs tidying up. That's a fact of life. I'm still behind, because I went away for 2 weeks when, from the garden's point of view, I should have been here and weeding. But I went to Cancun, and it was worth every dollar and every mile. Look at this pelargonium, isn't it gorgeous? And I'm very glad I went. And look, we've even got some late flowers. They're a bit bedraggled on this lovely thing. I looked it up. It is actually in the hydrangea family, but I've forgotten its name. Hi, Mike. It's great to see you. And look, it's just growing great guns out here. So I still haven't caught up. You know, the roses need to be dead-headed. I think I did a rough job shortly after I got back. But, you know, everything is just doing its thing. And mostly I'm keeping up. The star of the show is still this wonderful fuchsia, which I so enjoy. Look at that. And see, there's more of it. I broke this thing up. It came from across the fence. It came in bits, so I planted it into 4. And I'm so pleased I did because it's gorgeous. And look at these. I'm really fond of this one as well. This beautiful fuchsia. So, you know, everything's wet. And see the Luculia's coming up with more flowers because I didn't cut it down. You can see, can I zoom in? Yes, I can. So there's more flowers back there. So, I mean, this is life in this garden. It just keeps going. When things dry out, and later when summer actually arrives, because it hasn't, then there will be a time when it slows down. But for the moment, it's all really happening. And look at this, kaboom! I cut it right down and up it comes again. I really like that about that plant. I got to go inside before my feet get wet. See, the grass is really long. Between being unwell and my husband now being unwell, the lawns haven't been mowed. But I did manage to do the edges, so it's not a complete disaster out there. And look at this fern. Isn't it fabulous? And then there's this other one. I've got to pull them both out because they've got a pest plant growing through the middle of them. Can you see that round lily pad looking leaf in the middle? That is a pest plant and it has to come out. And you can see it in the middle of this fern as well. Look in there. See? And I mean, I'm actually going to have to pull the ferns out and hopefully I can split them up and put them back because there's lots of gaps now. See the weeds in the middle. And see this tree. It got rescued a couple of years ago, but it really is dying. So that's got to come out as well. So everything keeps turning around. That is life in a garden. And that's the work I've got to do. Carrying on this year. So, you know, pulling things out, getting rid of pests, and making space for new things. It sounds like life to me. So, here I go inside the house. And I'm still coughing a little bit, but not much. Right, so hat off. It's warmer in here. That is a cold wind outside, and yeah, it's nice to be inside, out of it. So I didn't even write myself little notes to talk from today, so because I'm going to talk a little bit about just trying to is the wrong word. I had a profound experience when I was in Cancun, and then it's not like that stopped. The profound experiences continue, and the unfolding continues, and the changing in me continues. And look, yesterday and even this morning, I was thinking, oh, geez, I don't even know if I want to sit down and write this morning. It was like I've changed so much, and I thought, I'm just going to sit down and have a look and see what the deal is, see what I think. Because it's like I didn't know. So I thought, okay, I'll just open up this document where I've been talking about the really fundamental nature of matter and, what is matter and where does it come from? Because everybody wants to manifest stuff and everybody wants to create change in their life. And wouldn't we all like to be able to create matter out of nothing? But actually, we think we know matter. We think we know what matter is. Oh, it's something solid. But what the hell is that? There are all kinds of assumptions that we make about matter and about gravity and about the speed of light and about all of these things that we take for granted, but we don't actually know what they are. The scientists can't really tell you. I mean, why is the speed of light the speed of light? Why? Nobody actually understands that. And what really is matter? It's something solid, but hang on, it can be liquid, it can be a gas, it can even be a plasma. We talked about that last year. Oh, so it's not necessarily solid. Oh, well, it's something that's made up of atoms. But hang on, atoms are made of a ton of mostly space. So what really are they? Well, it turns out that atoms and everything are made up of electrostatic charge. And what the heck is that? Well, that is it's potential energy that's stored in a system of charged particles. What the hell are those? And it's like you go down a rabbit hole when you really start asking, I want to change matter with my mind. What the hell is matter? And bottom line, you find out that matter is not solid and it's mostly empty space. And then it's like, well, what's actually in the empty space? Well, maybe it ain't so empty. And so what I ended up doing today is I opened up this document that I've been working on for a little while. And really this is all the stuff that's in it. And I thought, okay, I'm just going to put on my proofreading glasses and read it from the beginning and see what I think of it and see if I can find any things that I don't like and tweak it, So I did that, and I remember thinking only maybe half a page or a page, and I thought, oh yeah, this is good. I mean, I read it and I like it. It's not. So from my point of view, it's good. I think it's clear. I think it explains things. And I think there are things that are really useful to know and understand when you realize that it's not just basic science, it's actually how this frickin' place works and how you and I work and how life works. And that's kind of important to me because for my entire life I've been trying to figure that out. And there was just stuff that I did not understand, and I didn't realize how painful and disempowering it was to not understand it. So, anyway, so I get to the bit where, and this is what we were doing last year, where at the end of last year, I was talking about this empty space thing. What the hell is the deal with empty space? Is it really empty? No, it's not. It's full of these tiny little quantas. And yes, that is the word that was invented when quantum physics got invented. These tiny little quantas of energy, they're spinning, and they're called Planck spherical units. Hello, gorgeous people. It's great to see you. It's lovely to have you share with me. And they're tiny. Elizabeth, it's you. Yay! They're tiny and they're everywhere. And I mean, there's so many of them just inside one proton, right? Proton's really, really small. But just to remind you, if you make one of these tiny little spinning Plancks, imagine that that's the size of a grain of sand. Compared to that, a proton is as big as it is from here to Alpha Centauri, and that is 41.2 light years. So a proton's really big by comparison to one of these Planck spherical units. They're tiny. But there's many of them just inside one proton. But the question is, are they only inside the protons? Because, right, matter's made up of protons, right? That's it. Matter is made up of protons. Protons, neutrons, and electrons. A proton and a neutron are very, very similar. they're made of these Planck spherical units in organisation. And then an electron is just a little tendency towards a charge. It's so small. It has been calculated how big it is, but it's tiny. And everything, it turns out, is made of these tiny little bits of spinning charge. Okay. But also the empty space is full of these tiny bits of spinning charge. They're just not organised. And this was the thing that I was trying to find my way into explaining last year. And the last thing that I wrote about last year was this experience that I had when I was probably 15 or, I just turned 16. I was in the 6th form at school, and that was the age I was at. And I did a physics class, and in that class, we had this experiment with this, a tray of water. It was a decent-sized tray, and we had these little motors, one at each end. They had a little thingy that when you turned on would go up and down like this. With a battery, obviously. You connected the battery to the wires, and off it went. And so the instructions were you put one motor in, and we have one motor at each end, turn one of the motors on, and of course, it's like a little finger dipping into the water, and it makes circles that go out. And it's like, okay. And then the next instruction was to turn on the other motor at the other end, and I was expecting to see 2 lots of circles. But that wasn't what happened. What happened was this interference pattern, and what was more, it really didn't look like it was moving. It was resonating, it was vibrating, but this pattern of these interfering waves, it was standing still. This water was busy, it was vibrating, it was moving, but these waves are standing still. And it was my first experience of standing waves. What is a standing wave? Well, it's a wave that happens when you get 2 waves of the same frequency, or actually you can have one which is one. I think it will also work if you have one that's this long and one that's twice as long. They will stack. They have to be able to interfere in a way that's constructive. If they're just random wavelengths, nothing's going to happen. But if they're the same, they're going to interact and they're going to stack up. And that really was the best way for it was a powerful demonstration because I did not expect it. It was like, oh my God, here's this pattern. Interference pattern was the first thing because it was a physics class. And interference patterns are kind of important in physics. So, okay. 2 wave sources and you get an interference pattern. Whoopee. And then I'm thinking, and this is the piece that I was writing and kind of wrapping my head around today. I was thinking about this lecture that I had watched more than once from Nassim Haramein, who's just taught me so much. And he's spent 32 years pulling this information together and working really, really, really hard out on his own because he was such an outlier. And he kind of had this internal intuitive knowing about how the universe was, but he had to figure it out on his own. And he was so different that none of the other scientists would, believe him or anything. And now, of course, his work is being validated, and it's amazing. And he's unifying physics and the unified theory of matter and everything. See, I don't even know what it's called. But anyway, there's this lecture of his that I watched several times. And I'll probably watch it again because it's so cool. And he's talking about the same things that I've talked about because I've learned about them from him. That, if you have a tornado or if you have glass in a water and you swill it, you get something like a tornado. The water goes up the sides and you get a gap in the middle. If you have water going down a plug, you get you get a vortex and it's got a void in the middle. And he's talking about the fact that in the middle, it's like it's kind of solid. There's something there. And then you go further out and there isn't something there because it's not organised enough. And there's this little clip that he's got on Facebook where he says, you got a tornado 100 feet or a couple of 100 feet away over there and it's spinning like a bat out of hell and you can see that it's a tornado, but you're okay here because it's not coherent enough close to where you are to be organised. But over there, it's coherent, it's spinning, it's a thing. And if you're in its way, it's going to eat you. And I was thinking about that, and I was thinking about the fact that the vacuum, the empty space, the stuff that we can't see and even, can't measure, because we don't have receptors for long waves from space and X-rays and things. Our brains, our bodies don't have receptors for that kind of information, but it's there. We all use a phone, we all use Wi-Fi. We can't see those waves, but we know they're there. Well, it's the same. There's lots of other information. There's lots of other waves. And so I was thinking about the fact that the empty space is not really empty. It's full of these little spinning quantas of energy, these little Planck spherical units, and it's just energy spinning, really high energy, really small. There's lots and lots and lots of them. And it's a plasma. And I talked about the 4 states of matter and how you get a plasma. And I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole because I get myself confused and I'll lose my thread. But I was thinking about the fact that the plasma behaves like a fluid. Plasma does behave like a fluid. You know, you take steam, and you put it in a pressurized container and you heat it up even more. And what happens is that the oxygen and the hydrogen atoms in the water molecule actually fall apart. They decohere, the bonds between them break, and then you've just got all these incredibly energized ions of hydrogen and oxygen atoms that are just flying around in the plasma, and when it's like that, it behaves like a fluid. And the empty space around us that we don't have receptors to measure or to notice it's the same. It's a plasma of these Planck spherical units. But they're just not organized in empty space. They are organized when there's something that you can touch. That's what I was listening to Nassim talk about in this lecture. And I was thinking about that and the plasma being a fluid, and it's all Plancks, and matter is organized and empty space is not organized. And I was thinking about that experiment I did with the standing waves. And this little explosion happened in my brain, and I thought, what if matter is just because there's standing waves in the plasma of the void? And that was like, oh my God. Because it's the same principle. It's a fluid. I'm not just spouting this. It's a fact. This has been proven that if you have a plasma, if you have a fluid, and you make waves in it, it does the same stuff that they did. You know, that double slit experiment with the if you fire electrons or photons at one slit, then you get dots on when it comes out the other side, and it hits photographic plate. And if you have 2 slits, they couldn't understand why it suddenly made a spectroscopic interference pattern. But it's because the medium that those photons are traveling through is a plasma of Planck's, and so it behaves according to fluid dynamics laws, and you get an interference pattern. And this was oh my God, what if matter is just something has organized the Planck plasma so much that it emerges out of chaos and into matter? And then the next thought in my mind is, well, hell, what is making those kinds of waves? They must be really strong and really complex. Hi, Nikki! There must be some serious organizing going on out there, or in here. I mean, what do you think organizes your body with all its trillions and trillions and trillions of chemical reactions and quantum light, but faster than light speed communications and everything that goes on in your body every second? Who the heck is doing that? What the heck is doing that? How does that all happen? That's matter emerging out of the field too, by the way. And, what the heck is doing that? And hell, can I do some of that? And maybe, do I even know how to do that? But I don't realize that I'm doing it all the time anyway. But maybe I can become more conscious of how that works and get better at it. Change what I've been doing, uncreate the things in my life that I don't want, because I sure as heck have created them, and make something else. And that was the explosion in my mind, that I have taken all this time to talk about these weird little tiny spinners that are so small it's impossible to think about them, and build this model of matter, because I keep thinking that we should be able to do this. I've got to check the time. Okay. And now I'm going to hop sideways. I'm going to hop sideways to something that I experienced at the retreat. Because, there was so much. But I'm going to hop sideways because I think many of us listen to me included, I listen to me talk about that and I think, is that even possible? I mean, really? What the hell are you talking about? But we also know that apparently it's been done before, depending on whether you believe the old texts. There were people who made something out of nothing on a fairly regular basis, and they did things that people aren't supposed to be able to do. So when I was at the retreat, there was a lady who stood on the stage. Her name was Eliana, and I hope that the video of her testimonial will become public. I don't know that everybody's video, they might say, no, I don't want that much publicity. But I'm going to tell a little bit of her story because she did something impossible. And this is what I remember. And she's a very ordinary looking lady. As ordinary as you or I or anybody else. And she's probably in her late 60s or early 70s. And a little while ago, I don't know, a year or two, I don't remember all the details, she was diagnosed with colorectal cancer. And she was doing the meditation work of Dr. Joe Dispenza to heal it. So I think she knew about it. That's right, her husband got her onto it. And there was a process where she sort of went, oh my God, I've got cancer, I'm depressed, I'm sad, everything, la la la. And her husband sort of prompted her into doing the work. And she started doing the work, aiming to heal the cancer. So cool, she was doing that. And meanwhile, she was under quite a lot of pressure to have surgery. You've got this cancer and here, and we need to take out this and this and this. And she managed to stand up for it for a while, but then she got more scared and she gave in. And I will always remember what she said. She said, I had the surgery, and when I woke up, I knew that it was the worst decision I'd ever made in my entire life. And after the surgery, she had 3.5 centimetres left of her rectum. And you think, oh, rectums, don't talk. Well, try going through life without most of your rectum. It's pretty hard. She could not be away from the bathroom for more than 10 to 15 minutes. She had no bowel control whatsoever. Extreme, severe urgency. So you imagine that you can't sleep, you can't work, you can't do anything. You've got 10 or 15 minutes and then you have to go to the bathroom again. Beyond that, she had a lot of scar tissue in her lower abdomen and she was in constant, terrible pain. So her life went from hero to zero. It was very, very hard, and she got depressed. I mean, who wouldn't? It was difficult, and I think she did contemplate, hell, this is not really, why the hell do I want to do this? But there was a point, and I've missed out a lot, but these are the pieces that I remember. There was a point when she said to herself, this is no life. I'll just have to grow a new one. What? Really? So what she did was really smart, because Dr. Joe's meditations are at least 15 minutes long, and most of them are 45 or 50 or an hour or even longer. So she said, okay, what I did was I got my meditation, I sat down, I pushed go, and when I had to go to the bathroom, I pushed pause, she went and did her thing, she came back, she pushed play again. And okay, this is what I have to deal with, I've got to do this. And she was meditating for about 7 hours a day because there was nothing else she could do, right? Nothing. And she did this for about 3 months. And then she started to notice, oh, hang on, I'm about half an hour now. I've got about 30 minutes instead of 10 or 15. And I'm not in quite so much pain. And for her, that was like, oh my goodness. Yeah, well, the scar tissue, she was just not in so much pain, Augusta. Hi, it's great to see you. She was dissolving it. So that was her 3 month sort of little signals like, oh, I'm doing something that works. So she kept going, right? And I don't know how long it was. I don't remember that, which is why I hope that her testimonial will be added to the playlist. And she just kept going. And all over time, I want to stress, it took time. And she was meditating 7 hours a day. But all of the pain, all of the internal pain went away. And the time between bathroom visits got longer and longer. And she got her life back. And she was sort of wanting to have a scan, to find out what had happened. And it was funny because the first time I can't remember the details, but it was like her doctor forgot to measure what her rectum was doing. But obviously she was a lot better, right? So she had to prod him and go back for another scan. And said, can you please measure it? Because obviously, I'm better. Oh, and by the way, this is important. I don't know, again, at what point this was because I haven't stored the details, but she'd started meditating. She was doing 7 hours a day. And somewhere in there, I don't know whether before she had that realization, I've got 30 minutes now instead of 10 to 15 between bathroom visits, she found out that her surgeon had removed healthy organs. Can you imagine that? Thinking, oh my God, I had actually healed the cancer and my surgeon cut this stuff out anyway. And she had to make a huge choice. She had to decide whether she was going to hate her surgeon's guts, who wouldn't, or whether she was going to heal. Because you can't do both. If you are spending energy hating somebody, your body's not going to heal because you're in survival. You're not in growth and repair. So she made a really, really big decision. She said, okay, I've got to move on. I've got to let that go. It's past, it happened. And she focused her energy into healing. So she kept going. And so eventually when, she prodded her doctor, whoever it was, the oncologist maybe, to look at the thing, it's like, oh, it's 10 centimeters long now. She had regrown her entire, 6.5 centimeters of rectum from nothing. She'd done that. Now that's impossible. But she did it. She's got the before and after to prove it. And I remember that she said, in my meditations, I would just stretch it out. I would imagine it getting longer. And she would just, she did a lot. She couldn't do anything else. But she's got her life now and she has no pain. And the scar tissue was gone. Just wasn't there anymore. Now that's not supposed to be possible. But she did it. 2 people have grown their thyroids back doing this work from Dr. Joe Dispenza. People have grown back nerves. And obviously that they've healed many apparently incurable diseases. And as crazy stuff happens. And the point I'm making is that because they learned, because this is what Dr. Joe teaches and what I love to do every day, they learned how to pair a clear intention, which is a function of that coherent brain that I've been burbling on about for years. I learned about it from Dr. Joe, with an elevated emotion. And by that I mean a heartfelt, happy, grateful, joyful, and that must be really, really hard to do when you're in pain, right? But you match an elevated emotion, a clear intention and an elevated emotion, and somehow it signals the genes, and we can actually regrow body parts. Who knew? And if we can do that with body parts, maybe we can do it with other stuff too. We just have to know how, and we just have to be willing to do the work. So, and for me, this thing of, maybe matter is simply the result of standing waves in that plasma of Planck's that is all around us, and it is us, it is our bodies, and it's more organized than the stuff around us that isn't. Well, maybe that's something of a mental model and a framework. It really helps me to think about it that way. Because then I'm not just going, I'm desiring this, I'm vibing about this. Other people, they can do that, and it's enough for them. For me, it's really helped to have this kind of brass tacks understanding. Well, this is what matter is, and this is what I'm working to change. And the piece I haven't got to yet is the fact that I and you and everybody and also everything in the universe is one of those little motors in the water that's putting out the waves. And it's us. We create. And I shouldn't say that we're one of those little motors, because that makes it like that makes it sound like it's coming from in here. But actually what it is that I'm a resonance that's the size of the universe, and so are you, and we just extrude ourselves out into this three-dimensional reality to have this experience. Now that turns your head inside out the first few times you try to think about it. But this is what I know to be true for myself. I can't speak to anybody else, but I know it to be true for myself. It's in my soul. I know this is true. So I know I've rabbited on for half an hour, but it's a big catch-up. I'm excited about this. Bev, it's great to see you, honey. I'm just about to stop because I've talked for long enough. But it's lovely to have you jump on. Do enjoy the replay. I'm really curious to see where this goes this year. Super curious. And I thank you for joining me here. I invite you to go and check out my Cancun retreat collection on Patreon, because all you have to do is put your email address in there and you can see everything that I did. And there's more, believe it or not. So yeah, that's my Patreon plug. Go and check it out. I would really love to see you there, because that's where we can really connect and have an exciting time. So much love. I will see you next week. Same bat time, same bat place. New information. Until then, much love.